Hello everyone, and welcome to my very first book tag. I've never done one of these before, which is surprising. I know it's a thing that a lot of people on BookTube do, so I'm really excited to get into this because I have some interesting opinions. So I'm going to be doing the Anti-TBR tag. I forget who it's by. I think it's by Nicole something. I'll link the person who created it in the description. So I hope you enjoy. Most of these are about books that I have either tried to read and didn't like, or that I have no interest in reading at all, and there's a lot of unpopular opinions. So before we get started, if any of these are your favorite books, this is no way meant to be an attack on you. This is just my opinion, and I just don't have any interest in it, or I didn't like it because of a certain thing, maybe because of writing style, or maybe because I don't like books that have constant changes in perspective. It's very hard for my poor ADHD brain to keep track of, and I don't really like that. So please remember that these are all my opinions, and none of them are meant to hurt you. So thanks for watching. So the first question on the Anti-TBR list is a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And this is where I'm already gonna get in trouble. So I have a couple. The first one is Six of Crows by Leigh Bourdieu. I forget her last name, I always forget it. But I have absolutely no interest in reading Six of Crows. I've tried to read it multiple times, but as I said, I don't like books where perspectives change constantly. It's also why I didn't like the second arc of Percy Jackson. I can't get into the character if it's constantly changing. I can't do it. If it's maybe one or two characters, it's fine. Like, Lee and Annie in, I just noticed my lights are glitching out. I'll have to fix that later. Lee and Annie in, Flamefall and Fireborn, sorry. That's very weird. But, I just can't get into books that have that amount of changing perspective. It's just not something I like. And I also just wasn't interested in the story or any of the characters. I know people love them, but they just weren't interesting to me, and I'm very sorry about that. Another book that everyone loves, or has a love-hate relationship with, that I have no interest in reading, is Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I have no interest in reading any of her books, in fact. Maybe Chain of Gold and Chain of Iron, because I have heard really good things about them, but I think her books are bad. I think they're bad. I want to do a rant video about how bad the Mortal Instruments series is, because I've tried to read it on many occasions, and I've hated it every single time. I think her writing is cheap. I think she ugly shames characters. I hated, what's-her-face, the main character of the Mortal Instruments series. I hated her. She was really annoying and really stupid, and I just did not like her. So, I hate her books. No interest in reading them. I'm so sorry. I know so many people love them, but I don't. It's not for me. And I know you're gonna be like, well, Fen, you love Sarah J. Maas. That is because it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I like Sarah J. Maas because I started reading Sarah J. Maas when I was in, like, grade 9. So, like, now, like, 5 years later, those books are, like, a comfort to me. So, like, just reading her books, the story isn't great, but the characters are amazing, and it's just a comfort series for me, and it's a comfort author for me. So, I can see why people might like not-so-good authors, but at the same time, I don't like any of Cassandra Clare's books. I started reading them too late, I think, and I just don't like them. I don't like the story, I don't like the characters, and I don't like how she writes. Anyways, so yeah. Don't like the Mortal Instruments series, and I will never read it. Sorry. Another series that a lot of people have recommended to me for various reasons is Twilight, and I think Darkest Minds. People have sent to me a lot. Twilight is kind of obvious. I've watched all the movies. I watch all the movies with my friends all the time because we find them hilarious. And also the last couple movies aren't that bad. But at the same time, I just have no interest in reading it. I might one day, just to like get it out of the way and be like, wow, this was stupid. But at the same time, I just don't really have an interest in reading it. Another one, like I said, Darkest Minds. A lot of people have been recommending me that lately. I don't really care, like, about the story. I've read the description a few times, I've seen it in bookstores when I go in, and I'm like, that looks interesting, but as soon as I pick it up, I'm just like, not really. I'm not about it. So yeah, those two are also things that I'll never read, or might read one day, and probably will not finish. The second question on the Anti-TBR list is a classic book or author that you don't have an interest in reading. There are a lot. I have a lot of classic books. I have a lot of classic horror that I've read. I like H.P. Lovecraft, and I don't like him as a person, but I do like his books. I think they're fun sometimes. The Mountain Madness was really bad. I have absolutely no interest in reading Jane Austen. I have heard a lot about her characters. Do not care in the slightest. I have no interest in reading Charles Dickens. Again, heard a lot about his characters. No interest. It's just not something I want to read. I don't care about... I'm not really a historical fiction person, and the thing is, this historical fiction, that was just modern times for a lot of these people, but I just don't care about reading that stuff. I like fantasy, and I like things that I can disconnect from reality with. I also like political fiction, but I like political fiction when it's in fantasy, not really when it's, like, in the real world. So a lot of those books have, like, stuff to do with political stuff and real world issues and stuff like that, and I'm just not interested. That's not what I read for. I do like classic horror. I love Edgar Allan Poe. I love H.P. Lovecraft sometimes. Is Stephen King considered a classic? Because I love Stephen King sometimes. It really depends on me. I'm not a big classics person. I liked The Picture of Dorian Gray. I read that a couple months ago. I have a really pretty copy of it, actually. And I've been meaning to read Dracula. And I liked Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I like that a lot, actually. Mary Shelley is, like, one of my favorite authors, just because of how much of a badass she is. But, yeah, I have no interest in reading any of those classics. I don't want to read The Great Gatsby. I don't want to read any of Jane Austen's book, any of Charles Dickens' book. Yeah, just no interest. Sorry. The third question is a author you have no interest in reading. Again, we're going back to Cassandra Clare. No interest in reading her books, don't like her writing. And the other one is Brandon Sanderson. Not gonna get into why. I feel like it get me in a lot of trouble because of another booktuber I saw who said why she doesn't want to read his books, and she got in a lot of trouble for it. But I just have no interest in reading it. I know he's changed, but at the same time, as a queer person, it's up to me to decide to forgive him, and not the community to tell me to. So, I just have no interest in reading his books. I also just don't like the style of them. I tried. It's just not for me. So, those two, just not interested. And, like, again, I know there might be some stuff that's different, but I don't know. Not interested. The next question is a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading, and that would be Sam Sykes. I really wanted to read his book, I think it's 10 Arrows in Iron, that might be the second one, but I really wanted to read it, and then I found out about the sexual assault allegations, and I have no interest. I did really, I was interested in his series, I was interested in the characters, but sexual assault is not something that I can pay into and forgive, and I don't think I'd ever be able to look at the book the same while I was reading it, even if I, pirated it or something. So I can't read it. It's not something I have an interest in reading. And the second one is J.K. Rowling. I never liked the Harry Potter books. I love the movies, I hate the books. I have never been a fan of her writing. I thought it was very cheap for the amount of hype it got, but I liked the movies more, which I feel like is gonna get me in trouble again. But now, as a trans person, I can fully say that I hate J.K. Rowling. She can disappear for all I care. Get her off the internet. I don't want to see her anymore. So Sam Sykes and J.K. Rowling, big no for me, especially as a trans person on the J.K. Rowling one. But yeah, no interest. The next question is a bit of a hard one. It's a author that you've read a couple books from, but you now have no interest in reading. I don't really have an author that I would read more than half a book from and then not read again. I am not someone who can push through a book that I hate. I did with The Marked Girl, but that was only because I wanted to rant the fuck out of that book. But I'm not someone who can read a series and dislike it. It's just not something I enjoy doing. I read as an escape. I'm not gonna read a book I don't like. So I just don't really have any authors that I've read a couple books from that I haven't liked. Like, there's a couple authors that I've, like, read books from that I'm like, I wouldn't read one of their other series, but I still like their books. And maybe down the road, if they come out with a different series, then I'd be interested. I've seen J. Kristoff, but at the same time, I also really want to read Aurora Rising. This is more about Nevernight, which I'm going to talk about in a couple questions. But I also really want to read, I think it's Empire of the Vampire, which is coming out in September. I do really want to read that, so I'm looking forward to that one. So I can't really say J. Kristoff is one of the people that I wouldn't read, because I'm looking forward to multiple of his books. So yeah, I don't really have an author who I've read that I now dislike. So yeah, I can't really answer that one. Next one is a genre you have no interest in reading. Historical fiction, and anything that's like fiction based around real life. I've read a couple, what's her name? Jodi Picoult books. I like her books, but it's not something I'll read if I have something else to read. Like, I read Jodi Picoult when we were in lockdown because we couldn't go out and get books, and I was waiting for the books I ordered to get in. But again, not something I've read fully by choice. It was more because I had nothing else. So I'm just not interested in reading fiction that's based around real life. I also don't necessarily like books that are romance and entirely about romance, and you're gonna be like, man, Sarah J. Maas. I know, and the plot isn't good, besides the romance or the characters. But again, comfort series, we're putting that to the side. But I'm not interested in reading romance. I am going to try Red, White, and Royal Blue just because it's gay. And I do like gay. Gay is a good time. But straight romance alone, not about it. So, yeah, I am not interested in reading historical fiction, I'm not interested in reading fiction based around reality, and I'm not interested in reading romance if it has no other, like, war going on beside it. I need my war and I need my romance on the side. I need there to be a struggle and then a romance in the middle, because I don't want to read just about a romance. I feel like I'd be, like, good with gay romance, but if it's just straight romance, we see that every day on TV. Don't give a shit. So, yeah. Book I've bought and will never read. One moment. So the first one is Blood of the Elves by Andrzej Sipkowski. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I've read maybe like 4 chapters of this book. No interest. Just wasn't about it. I might read it one day, but for now, it's just not really my thing. I played the Witcher games. I wanted to read the books and love them, but I just didn't love it. And the second one is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I have the entire series. I wanted them in a bigger print because I don't like reading print that's that small. Oh, hi. Hello, miss. She's gonna step on the computer. But I don't like reading print that's that small. So please ignore the cattail. Mabel, why are you doing this? It's just not something I really like. I'm very specific about print. Mabel. Okay, come on. You're in lap or nothing. But, yeah. So, I feel like I might read Game of Thrones one day. Watched the entire series. Season 8 sucked. But, yeah, I feel like if he releases the last couple books, then I'll read it. But right now, if the books aren't out, I'm not gonna read it. So, yeah. Sorry about the cat. The next one is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started but did not finish. That would be Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I really, really wanted to love Nevernight. and I feel like I could, but I just couldn't get into it. And there was just it was just the weird way that some of the lines were written, and I just couldn't get into it. I really, really wanted to. I'm really disappointed that I didn't. But I feel like I'll try it again one day, just not right now. And yeah, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love Nevernight, but I just can't get into it, and I feel really bad about it. So yeah. So the last question is a new release that you have no interest in reading. I feel a bit bad about this one, but I don't have any interest in reading Witches Steeped in Gold. Just like as a pagan and a witch, whenever I see books about witches, I just go, not for me. It's always kind of either insulting or really, really wrong, and I don't like reading things that feed into the idea that paganism is something it isn't. Which is why I hated Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I liked the old one, I didn't like the new one. But there's not a lot of books that I'm actually interested in. The other one is The Infinity Courts. I don't really know much about it, but I know I'm never gonna read it. So yeah, that was all for this video. I hope you liked it. There's a lot of books that I don't want to read, but there's even more books that I do. So I'm really excited to read more books. I'm hoping to read way more books this month than I did last month, because I really, lost my game. I feel like I'm going into a reading slump, which I freaking hate. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you weren't insulted by any of my choices. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye.